Guys, we're going to jump right into it. Today we're going to be talking about scripts in GB Studio and how they can be applied. So there's a couple different types of scripts. We'll talk about that here. All this information is available on gbstudio.dev, so I'll put that link in the description. So I just wanted to show you all this. This is in text form. Really helpful. I use it a lot, but the intent for this video is maybe to show some graphic examples of how these things work and how they can actually be applied. So this is more of a foundational skill in GB Studio. I have some more complex videos showing how some of my games were made, how to combine a few of these things to get the effect that you want. So I just wanted to show you guys this. We'll be going over in detail each one and showing an example and how they're used. So first we'll talk about on Init, and this black text is straight from GB Studio website. So on Init, this script will run once at the beginning of the scene. Actors in a scene will always run their own Init script before their scene's on Init script. So on Init can be applied to a scene, and it can also be applied to an actor. So the simplest way to think about it is, for the scene, this is going to happen when the scene opens up. So in white, I have some different uses that I have displayed in some of my other tutorial videos if you wanted to check those out. But some of the most common uses is to set variables to a certain numbers, or true or false. Display text as soon as the scene opens up. You can start your music on Init, and you can attach scripts to your buttons. So like I said, on Init can also be applied to a player. So once the player enters the scene or becomes active in the scene, it will do those tasks. So that's an example of on Init. Okay, next we have on Interact. Standing the player next to an actor and pressing a button will cause the player to interact with the actor. Interacting with an actor will begin the script. In shoot 'em up scenes, interacting can additionally be done by colliding with the actor. So, interact is very simple. If you've read the sign in Pokemon or picked up your Pokeball from Professor Oak, you have done on Interact. So that's when you walk up to an item and you press A in most top-down games. So definitely the most common one is show dialogue or talk to another actor if it's a person. Math functions, so you can, within GB Studio, you can use the math functions to add or subtract from your variables, such as if you picked up an item that was worth money. As you said, you can also acquire items. So reading a sign, and in addition, if you interact with something, you can also change the scene. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, maybe the most powerful one we have is on update. This script is run once every frame and can only be added to non-player actors. So the uses, you can update your variables, you can update your heads-up display, which I will link the video to how I explain that for one of my games. You can also complete tile switching. As you're updating the variables, you can execute tile switching to display the numbers, as well as checking your variables. So what I mean by that is you can set an on update script to check multiple variables before you change a scene, for instance. Alright guys, I wanted to show you an example of these three things. That's going to be on Init, on Interact, and on Update. So this is a scene from General Warfare, and overall what I want the player to do is to find out about the cards. So I want them to interact with all four of these boxes so they can learn what they are, and when they do that, I want the scene to automatically change to the next scene. So that includes, the scene includes all three of those things. So you saw as the scene came up on Init, this text box came up. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. I'm going to show you the code to it. So it's really simple. On init for the scene, remember there's two different on inits. We said display first to 14 battles wins. So that's what happened. So as we advance it, need basic training. So this is just a chance for returning players to kind of skip this part. But we're going to say yes for the sake of this tutorial. But basically, very basic script for that one. Need basic training as dialogue, display choice, and then an if-then statement. So if I select yes, nothing's going to happen. And if I select no tutorial, I'll go to the scene right here. Anyway, so that's on init. As soon as the scene opened up, Big Sarge asked him a question. So we're going to say yes, we need a tutorial. So just keep in mind this is a point and click scene, which can be changed right there. So the on interact is a little bit different. If it was a top-down scene, on interact would have to be sprite to sprite. But in this case, it's point and click. So my pointer here starts flashing when I hit something that is of importance. So I'm going to have to interact with each one of these. But what I want to also bring your attention to is some of these variables down here. So as I interact with these, my onUpdate actor, which is actually just transparent, is checking to see which ones we have done. And when it hits all four of them, we'll move to the next scene. So onUpdate, as they select each one of these, it's going to set the variable to true. So once all four are set to true, we'll advance. So I think what we'll do is try to star these so we can watch them all at once. Commander rank, attack class, battle strength, and deck type. There we go. So there's the four of them, and we can watch them all here. Let's get rid of these others too. Okay, so you can see down here once we click on these will change. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is on interact. We get text. After your first victory, you'll be able to select the deck. Brute should bring on more wars. Tactical will bring more strikes and shootouts. Wonderful. But you can see deck type tutorial change to 1. So I'll show you how I did that. So on interact, I did display dialogue as my event. That's what you just saw. And then I did set variable to true. So in the box here, display dialogue and set variable to true. There you go. Too easy. All right. So now what my onUpdate is doing is checking these four variables on every frame. So I believe that's 30 times a second. Let's get rid of that extra box. Okay. So it's checking. It's constantly checking in the background. And I did a clear actor just to make it simple, so there's no visual. So then we'll go around to these other sections of the card and interact with them. Attack class, yep. Display dialogue again. So you see at the bottom there that changed to 1. If you look at your editor here. So I'll show you all again my onUpdate script right before we switch to the next one. All right. So I'm going to move briefly back to my onUpdate actor. So all this thing is doing is keeping track of these things. If commander rank is true, if attack class is true, if battle strength is true. If deck type tutorial is true, change scene to 15, which is this one right here, the background. So commander rank is not true, so nothing's happening. So let's make commander rank true. Okay. So as soon as that one clicked in, it sent me to the next round to meet the generals. So that's just an example on how those three things work on Init, on Update, and on Interact. The last one we'll cover is on hit. So what GB Studio says about that is this script runs when the actor is hit by another actor or projectile belonging to a collision group. So your collision groups are primarily going to be used for shoot 'em ups and platformers. So a little bit different than the other ones, but still a good tool that you have. So this all depends on what you want to happen when your player gets hit. So in my micro platformer Portrait of Vondrak, we shake the screen and show an emote to show that he lost health. You can also decrement and increment health or supplies, whichever works for your game. But the other one I forgot to put on here actually that's quite useful is you can change the sprite. So I'll show you guys that in the next example. It's the same game, General Warfare, but it's a shoot 'em up scene for the commander of the Space Force. And you'll see once we get hit by a projectile, the spaceship will change sprites for a second to show that they got hit. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and boot up this shoot 'em up scene from General Warfare. But before it boots up, I want to show you guys the background script. So this is a long shoot 'em up scene that will be located in space. So since it's a shoot 'em up, we have on player hit. And since I have my projectile set to collision group 3, I have call script space self hit. So we'll go over to the scripts over here and I can show you exactly what that is. So you do that to make sure the game doesn't lag, and you can have one script written and call it multiple times rather than having the script pasted in a million times. So the script is pretty basic. So if my spaceship gets hit, it's going to turn to a cloud of dust for 0.2 seconds, then it's going to turn back and it's going to inflict 20 damage on myself. And that's it. So real basic. And this tab down here will show you where it's used, which is cool. So that's the scene. But we'll go ahead and kind of show you what it looks like. It's really self-explanatory, but I like playing this scene. Thank you guys for watching. This is more of a foundational video for GB Studio. Some of my other videos have been more comprehensive and complex. However, this is more of a basics video. So let me know in the comments if you'd like to do any other more basic videos for GB Studio. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.